You're listening to CFRN, the Christian Financial Radio Network.
Good afternoon, traders, and welcome back to the CFRN E-mini Futures Cast. This is the daily broadcast of Indeterminate Length, where we discuss all things E-mini, along with some really big ideas on the finer points of trading gold, bonds, crude, sugar, the euro. Joining us today, Mr. Michael Borg. From our trading desk in Chicago, Mr. Burton Schlichter. Now, to get things started, let's go to our host and founder in Studio A, overlooking South Mountain, America's largest city park. Here's Dwayne.
Good afternoon. Welcome back. Today is Monday, 6th day of October, 2025. Thanks so much for joining us. Whoever you are, wherever you are, we're just glad to have you right here, right now. We do 2 live broadcasts every trading day. The first broadcast is our live training room. So that's reserved for members only and those who are taking their 1-week free trial. If you haven't taken your 1-week free trial, when Michael joins us in about an hour, he'll walk you through step by step exactly how to take the trial. There's no credit card required. We'll have your indicators up and indicating today. Your trial will officially start tomorrow and will run all the way through next Monday. It's 5 consecutive trading days. The weekend doesn't count against you. And you're not just getting access to the live training room. You're getting access to everything we offer. The discussion group, one-on-one mentoring, live training, alerts, weekly zones, everything. We treat you just like you are a member for 5 days, trading days. So you can make a well-informed, intelligent decision as to whether or not trading is right for you. Now, when the live training room ends each day at 11:30 a.m. Eastern, we take a 30-minute break and come back for this broadcast, the afternoon broadcast, which is open to the public. That's everybody everywhere on planet Earth with an internet-connected device. There's 2 different ways to join the afternoon broadcast live. The best way, you only have to do it once. Go to mytradingiq.com. Scroll down the page to where it says Noon Broadcast. Click the link, fill out the 30-second registration form, and you're done. What will happen going forward is every trading day you'll get an email about an hour before the broadcast starts. In the email, there will be a link. So at 12 noon Eastern, all you have to do is just click the link in the email, and it automatically logs you into our platform. The benefit there is you have access to the question box, so you can ask questions and participate in the discussion. Of course, there'll be days you're out of the office, away from the desktop, but you still want to join live. And some days you'll be busy, so you can't join live, but you want to get caught up later. You can do both of those via our YouTube channel, which is easy to remember. youtube.com/CFRN. That's the Christian Financial Radio Network since 2005. But all you need to remember is youtube.com/CFRN. Not only do we broadcast live every trading day on our YouTube channel, we also archive each and every daily broadcast. Currently, there's over 2,900 daily episodes archived for your educational and viewing pleasure. youtube.com/CFRN. This is our schedule for each afternoon broadcast. Michael will join us top of the hour, right about 1 p.m. Eastern, for a recap of what he did in the live trading room this morning. And then he may do some live trading. But for now, we'll go with our daily devotional, which is where we start out each and every day. The topic that we're on right now, we've been on this for a week. Context matters. And if you've been following along, you probably have a pretty good handle on why context matters. But let me explain. Context matters because it provides the necessary background, setting, and circumstances to give meaning, clarity, and perspective to information, enabling better understanding, accurate interpretation, and informed decision-making. Without context, communications can be misconstrued, lead to misunderstandings, incorrect conclusions, and poor outcomes in personal, professional, societal, and especially spiritual interactions. So now you know. All right, let's dive in. Today's scripture, Acts 17, verses 16 through 34, and I'll share it from the NIV translation. While Paul was waiting for them in Athens, he was greatly distressed to see that the city was full of idols. So he reasoned in the synagogue with both Jews and God-fearing Greeks, as well as in the marketplace, day by day, with those who happened to be there. A group of Epicurean and Stoic philosophers began to debate with him. Some of them asked, "What is this babbler trying to say?" Others remarked, "He seems to be advocating foreign gods." They said this because Paul was preaching the good news about Jesus and the resurrection. Then they took him and brought him to a meeting of the Areopagus, where they said to him, "May we know what this new teaching is that you are presenting? You are bringing some strange ideas to our ears, and we would like to know what they mean." All the Athenians and the foreigners who lived there spent their time doing nothing but talking about and listening to the latest ideas. That's where the term Mars Hill comes from. All these learned men with nothing better to do. They didn't have to work. Their slaves did that. So they could just stand around all day and argue about the latest ideas. Remind you of cable news? Anyway, back to the scripture. Paul then stood up in the meeting of the Areopagus and said, "People of Athens, I see that in every way you are very religious. For as I walked around and looked carefully at your objects of worship, I even found an altar with this inscription, 'To an unknown God.' So you are ignorant of the very thing you worship. And this is what I'm going to proclaim to you. The God who made the world and everything in it is the Lord of heaven and earth, and does not live in temples built by human hands. And he is not served by human hands, as if he needed anything. Rather, he himself gives everyone life and breath and everything else. From one man he made all the nations, that they should inhabit the whole earth. And he marked out their appointed times in history and the boundaries of their lands. God did this so that they would seek him and perhaps reach out for him and find him, though he is not far from any one of us. For in him we live and move and have our being. And some of your own poets have said, we are his offspring. Therefore, since we are God's offspring, we should not think that the divine being is like gold or silver or stone, an image made by human design and skill. In the past, God overlooked such ignorance, but now he commands all people everywhere to repent. For he has set a day when he will judge the world with justice by the man he has appointed. He has given proof of this to everyone by raising him from the dead. When they heard about the resurrection of the dead, some of them sneered, but others said, we want to hear you again on this subject. At that, Paul left the council. Some of the people became followers of Paul and believed. Among them was Dionysius, a member of the Areopagus, also a woman named Damaris, and a number of others. Again, that was Acts 17, verses 16 through 34. Mars Hill. Now, for those of you in the know, there was a little church once upon a time up in Seattle called Mars Hill. But it wasn't a little church for long. Within just a few years, there was 13 campuses in the greater Seattle area. The pastor was Mark Driscoll. Very charismatic, on the cutting edge of technology. We're talking late 90s, early 2000s. And it blew up. And he was a preacher like none had ever seen before. He was a real man's man kind of preacher. And of all places, in Seattle, they flocked to him by the tens of thousands. At one point, Mars Hill had 2 red cameras. You probably don't know what a red camera is, but at the time, CBS only had 1. It's a special kind of camera. You can go watch the videos online. You can listen to the preaching. All the sermons are archived. And I expressed concern with some of my brothers and sisters in Christ that something was changing about Mark, that people were coming to see him more than they were coming to worship God. And he's the first one that really made it popular to preach from one location and have it broadcast on the big screen across multiple campuses. After a number of years, he insulted some of the elders of the church. So they suspended him and sent him on leave. At the time, he was making $600,000 a year. They put him on leave for a month, and when he came back after his leave, he said, I quit. They go, no, don't quit. We had to do something because you insulted the elders. Calm down. We'll even bump your salary up to $700,000 a year. Now, this was happening back prior to 2010 or right around 2010. And my friends, I kept warning them. I go, guys, telling you this is not going to end well. And so Mark walked out. Now, they had probably 100,000 members across all the campuses, all the different services. Guess how long it took for those 13 campuses to implode when Mark Driscoll left? A month. 1 month, 30 days. Proves my point. People were coming to see him perform, not to have an encounter with God. Mark moved to, of all places, Phoenix, Arizona. Actually, Scottsdale. He has a church out there now. He almost bought the old historic church I own downtown, in downtown Phoenix, but it just wasn't, he loved it, but it just wasn't big enough for his dream. I understood. Said he would love to make it a recording studio, but it was quite a drive from Scottsdale. So that was my brush with greatness. I hear he's still packing the house these days, but nothing like the days of Mars Hill. Now, if you enjoy a good podcast, wherever you get your podcast, search for The Rise and Fall of Mars Hill. Now, these are the people upset with Mark, okay? It was done by Christianity Today. But here's what I want you to do. First, listen to some of his sermons so you really understand kind of what they're talking about before you read the podcast. Before you listen to the podcast, there's 10, 11 episodes. And you're going to find the sermons are quite stirring. You're also going to find the podcast quite interesting. And now I'm going to have to put you on hold for a second. Sorry. All right, Mars Hill we were talking about. Now, again, the topic of our devotional is proper context. The book of Acts includes many of Paul's speeches to different audiences. In Acts 17, Paul addresses a crowd of Greek philosophers in Athens. That's the scripture we just read. Paul begins his speech by complimenting and finding common ground with his audience. Athens was a center for Greco-Roman religion, and philosophy was home to many temples and idols. Luke initially notes that Paul was greatly distressed that the city was full of idols. But when he addresses the Athenian philosophers, he compliments them for being very religious. Paul highlights one altar inscribed with a text to the unknown God. This altar was set up centuries before a plague affected Athens. The Athenians had sacrificed to all sorts of different deities in hopes of finding relief. But none of the sacrifices had worked. Finally, they got advice from a philosopher named Epimenides, who suggested they sacrifice to unknown gods. His reasoning was that there must be some god they didn't know about that they had offended, and the plague would stop if they sacrificed to that god. They followed this advice and the plague stopped. Paul uses this acknowledgement that there may be a god they weren't aware of to point the philosophers of Athens to the true God who created heaven and earth. He goes on to quote some of their own philosophers, including Epimenides, as he directs his audience to repent and follow the true God. Paul's strategy in Athens provides a helpful model for how we can present the gospel. His knowledge of Greek history and philosophy allowed him to find common ground with the philosophers at Athens and gave him an opportunity to preach the good news of Jesus and his resurrection. We'll pick up there tomorrow. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, open our eyes to see the idols of this world for what they are, empty and powerless. Give us boldness like Paul to point people to the one true God who made the heavens and the earth. Help us to share the hope of the risen Christ with wisdom, courage, and love, so that many may come to believe and live. It's in Jesus' name we believe and pray. And everybody said, amen. Amen, and happy Monday. Let me give you the numbers from around the world. We'll start here in the U.S. The cash markets, or the indices as they're called. If I can get my data to load. Here it comes. Slowly but surely. What's going on? All right, we'll start again with the indices, the cash markets. You know, you can't trade the actual index. You have to trade the derivatives, like futures, options, etc. Currently, the Dow's down 120 points. NASDAQ's up 153. S&P 500 is up 24. The Russell 2000 is up 20. And for the Russell 2000, that's pretty close to 1%. In the commodity basket, crude oil really making a comeback the last 2 days, up 95 cents. Trading 61.84 last. That's a gain of over 1.5%. Gold up $64.10. Trading 39.73 last. That's a gain of over 1.5%, almost 1.75%. Silver up 29 cents. Trading 48.25 last. In the Asian markets at the close, the Nikkei posted a gain of, get ready for this, 2,175 points. That's 4.75%. Don't think I've ever seen that before. At least not from the Nikkei. Shanghai gained 20 points. The Hang Seng fell 183. And in the European markets at the close, FTSE down 12. The DAX unchanged on the session. The CAC down 109, which is pretty close to 1.5%. So we had a mixed day in Asia. It was a red day for the UK. And because of the Dow, and only because of the Dow, it's a mixed Radio Monday here in the US of A. Journalist Barry Weiss is expected to be named editor-in-chief of CBS News today, ending weeks of speculation over the outlet's future under new Paramount company, Paramount Skydance. Paramount will also reportedly pay $150 million to acquire Weiss news media startup, which is called the Free Press. Now, for those of you that get your drugs at the Rite Aid, I have bad news. Rite Aid has shuttered all remaining stores. The announcement ends a 63-year run for what was once the U.S. third biggest pharmacy chain. Rite Aid's history dates back to 1962, when Alexander Grass opened a drugstore in Scranton, Pennsylvania. Within several years, there were dozens of locations, and Grass renamed the chain from Thrift D Discount Center to Rite Aid. That's R-I-T-E. Now, in certain parts of the country, there are no Rite Aids, so just like in some parts of the country, there's no Dwayne Reed drugstore. Yeah, true story. There is such a thing. At its height, Rite Aid operated over 5,000 stores and was known for its popular Thrifty ice cream brand. But it was accused of complicity in the opioid epidemic and accumulated over $4 billion in debt. The company filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy twice in 2 years, the first time in October of 2023 and again in May. Most of Rite Aid's locations were purchased by competitors, CVS Pharmacy, Walgreens, Albertsons, and Kroger. Now, there's a Walgreens. If you're driving, it's about 3 minutes from my house. It's been closed for over a year now. It's a single, it's a standalone building in a little strip mall. But this Walgreens is standalone. It's pretty good size. They want $5 million for it. So, gets down around 2, we'll talk. Egypt reopened the tomb of Amenhotep III Saturday after more than 2 decades of renovation. The announcement comes weeks before the country is set to open its massive Grand Egyptian Museum on November 1st. This pharaoh ruled over 3,000 years ago during Egypt's 18th dynasty. Interesting. On Wall Street, my internet seemed to be slow. Shares of chipmaker AMD soared as much as 35% in early trading after the company announced a multi-billion-dollar deal with OpenAI. The move will see AMD provide upward of 6 gigawatts of GPUs to the AI juggernaut over several generations, starting with its MI 450 chips in the second half of 2026. Currently, AMD is up 28%, NVIDIA is down less than 1%. OpenAI, it's not giving me a read. Oh, that's because it's privately traded. .pvt. Okay. As part of the deal, OpenAI will take a stake in AMD worth up to 160 million shares, or roughly 10% of the company. Shares will vest in tranches as AMD hits specific milestones. The tranche will vest, or tranche. I say tranche, you say tranche. Will vest when AMD deploys its initial 1 gigawatt of chips. All I know is on my post-gallbladder scare diet, I'm allowed 11 chips a day. I'm serious. I literally have to count them out of the bag. And they got to be the baked ones. But they haven't sucked all the flavor out of them. They still taste good. Go Frito-Lay. Shares in Elon Musk's Tesla jumped in the first hour of trading today. It's currently up a little over 4%. After the electric vehicle maker published a series of cryptic posts on X yesterday, hinting at a new product unveiling. Tesla shares climbed as high as 4% in the early hours of the first trading session after the EV maker posted GIFs on Sunday of a spinning company logo with the date 10/7 and what appears to be car headlights shining through the smoke. Can I pull that post up? I haven't seen it. Yeah, I can. I don't know why I would, but I did. So now I might as well show it to you. Post up. That's all it takes to send the stock up, and then it says 10/7, and then it starts all over again. Okay, there you go. You've officially had your sneak peek. Huh. Okay. Guess we'll find out tomorrow. Tomorrow's the 7th, right? Pope Leo has begun correcting some of Pope Francis's more questionable financial reforms and decisions, canceling a law Monday that had concentrated financial power in the Vatican Bank. Leo completely abrogated the 2022 law that had decreed that management of the Holy See's assets was the exclusive responsibility of the Institute of Religious Works, or as those close to the matter call it, IOR. The new law says the Holy See generally does use the IOR, but can turn to non-Vatican banks in other countries if the Vatican's investment committee deems it more efficient or convenient to do so. Now, some people say they have more money than God, but well, I'll let you figure that one out. So how much of a credit score do you need to buy a house in this day and time, 2025? Well, credit scores generally range from a low of 300, not good, to a maximum of 850. Getting 850 is practically impossible. But I do know some folks who have, from time to time, come very, very close. I've never known anyone who could tell me that they actually had an 850. But anyway, while the Federal Housing Administration guarantees loans with credit scores as low as FICO 500 with 10% down, a score of 760 or higher qualifies you for the lowest mortgage rates available, no matter the loan product. So a conventional loan, you'll typically need a credit score of 620 or better to qualify. A 3% minimum down payment is available to first-time home buyers. A jumbo loan, buying a more expensive home, typically more than $806,000, requires qualifying for a jumbo loan. That means you need a credit score in the 700s. If you want an FHA loan, you got to have a credit score of at least 500 and 10% down. With a FICO score of 580 or better, you can get an FHA with a 3.5% down payment. A VA loan, typically 620 or higher. USDA loans, Houses and properties in rural areas and suburbs may be eligible for USDA loans. Low and moderate income buyers will likely need a credit score of 580 or higher to qualify for a USDA mortgage. And of course, you got to have the income to support the payments. But you know that. Supreme Court's going to be really busy as they get back to work. We're running short on time, so I'm not going to share that with you today. I'll share it with you tomorrow. Let's go to Logic 247. It's our 24/7 around the clock E-mini alert service. Last week we ended up with 6% stopped out. We had 3 stopped out. We had a total of 63 alerts. And now this week, week 375, we're sitting at 25% with just 1 stop out. Over the last 375 weeks, we've issued over 20,600 individual handcrafted alerts. And what we've averaged on a weekly basis is 20% or less of the alerts being stopped out based on simple market structure and a simple process we teach all of our passport holders. Last night, we issued a total of 15 alerts. When Valerie did the recap this morning at 6:30 a.m. Eastern, we were still waiting on the outcome of 11. That gave us 4 actionable alerts, of which 1 or 25% stopped out, coming off a week of 6%. Might even been lower. So anyway, the logic alerts, it's posted in the discussion group. But last week was an excellent week. Excellent. Every logic alert has an entry price, long or short, an initial target designed to help you get your goal for the day, and then usually additional targets and then a final trade to target. Purpose of the logic alerts is to help you learn how to read a chart, even if you never trade one. They will help you learn how to read the chart if you use them properly. The logic alerts can come out anytime around the clock. Futures trade around the clock. We have traders around the globe. Our day session is their night session and vice versa. Alerts start going out Sunday night, 6 p.m. Eastern. That's when we started last night. And so Valerie will update this recap this afternoon. Now, on Sunday night, when the logic alerts go out, they're based on last week's weekly trading zones, because the new weekly trading zones don't come out till Monday morning at 6:15 a.m. Eastern. Now that the new weekly zones have been published, and all of our traders have had an opportunity to get them on their chart, any alerts that go out the rest of the week, the logic alerts or the concierge trade alerts, will be based on the new weekly trading zones. The zones you see on my charts today will be last week's zones because, again, all the alerts that went out last night were based on last week's zones. Alerts going out today will be based on this week's zones. That's how it's been for 15 and a half years, over 15 and a half years. Now, the CTAs, now the logic alerts, we've had those for over 7 years. But the CTAs, we've had a whole lot longer than that. And they're different in a lot of ways, but for the purpose of this discussion, they're not published around the clock. They're published as a static report, typically 5 minutes ahead of the Globex open. So last night, all of our traders and trial members had all of these targets 5 minutes before the market opened. The Monday session began last night at 6 p.m. Eastern. S&P 500, the Dow, the Russell, crude oil, the NQ, gold, and silver. So let's go look at the chart. We'll start where we always do with the bellwether, the S&P 500 Emini futures. Now on Friday, we got another new all-time historic high. But look at what happened going into the close. Traders were willing to buy the market on Friday. It almost got us up to our 100% fib extension. The high Friday was 6,800. 100% fib extension is at 6,807. Now, the way we sold off is really interesting, especially when you look at the fact that the black step line crossed back on the left side, blue and climbing. That would indicate that we have higher prices yet to come. So this is extremely interesting, and we'll see. Now, price always reverts to the mean. In our case, the mean is green. It's called the BBC, stands for bull, bear, cross. When price pulls back to the BBC, or reverts to the mean, the pullback holds more often than it doesn't. Friday, again the high was 6,800. So far today, 6,794. So today's high is 6 points off the all-time historic high. But again, with the step line back on the, see when the step line is on the left side, you see how price climbs. But once the step line crosses to the right side of blue and climbing, then you get a pullback, as we did here to the BBC. Pullback hill. Just like it held and it held and it held and it held. Like I said, it holds more often than it doesn't. But eventually it will trade through. So Friday's action did not bode well for higher prices, yet the market opened last night and on the ES just headed north. Now the 30-minute chart is where all of the logic alerts are created. Nothing special about 30 minutes, just the time frame I chose years ago. If it ain't broke, leave it alone. So on the ES last night, we did have a gap higher open. Okay. This was the opening candle right here, the vertical lines that you see right there. That separates today Monday, back here's Friday, back here's Thursday. The horizontal lines are the weekly trading zones. Last week, the highest weekly trading zone was 6810/11. The zone below it was 6732/33. Now, when price rallies up to a zone, we expect resistance. When it drops to a zone, we expect support, until proven otherwise. Now, again, these alerts went out 5 minutes before the open last night. So we get an open at 67.68, and we run up 11 points to the long target, which was based off of the bearish cross. That's when the red line gets below the green line. When you have a bearish cross that leads to an extended move, the first time price revisits that area will almost always be good resistance. And while we did spike it a little bit, look where we closed. Right, the close was exactly 67.79. Pretty cool, huh? Price pull back to the BBC, pullback hell. That sent us up to a higher high. Okay. And then we got another retracement back to the BBC and the top of the long target. Once you trade through the long target on a retracement, more often than not, at least the first pullback, the top of that long target will hold as support, as it did here. We got a leg and a retracement, pullback hell, leg and a retracement, pullback hell. Then blue and climbing turned to red and falling. That took us back below the long target. We opened here, traded down to here. Exactly where red turned to blue. You see that? That's support. It's market structure. That's what you have to learn how to read. Because your charts don't have any words, sentences, paragraphs, or punctuation. Got to learn how to read the chart. So we found support right where we would expect it. Okay. Now, because it was a Sunday night, I didn't know how the markets were going to gap. I even said in the discussion group, if there's huge gaps, then I'll just reissue the CTAs, but they were just minor gaps. And so we find support. The market's going to go look for resistance. Now, we would expect resistance here at the high of the session, 94. But look right here where blue turned to red. We spiked it, we got turned away, but buyers came in right there. And look where we are now. We're above the BBC. We got blue and climbing below us. We got a double top right here. Next major resistance should be 67.95, 67.97, 67.99. On the Dow. Remember when I gave you the numbers from around the world, the only one in the red was the Dow. This is where we opened last night. We ran up, but we couldn't take out that high right there from Friday. So that's a sign of weakness. Sent us back to the BBC, the pullback held. And we get another leg. Okay. So that gives us that double top there, which sends us back to the BBC, and again the pullback held. Now we got like a quadruple top here, or triple top, whatever you want to call it. But right here, this is when Wall Street opened. We dropped all the way through this weekly trading zone, all the way down to the next zone. Bullish cross right here. That's when the blue line gets above the green line. First time price revisits that area. Almost always good support. Yeah, we spiked it a little bit. I mean, there was a lot of downside momentum. But the area held. Sent us right back up to red and falling. Now notice the step line. Okay. Step line and red and falling were running parallel to each other. But right now, the step line is crossing red and falling, and price is doing what? It's sitting on top of the weekly zone from last week. 460, 900/905. So what do we expect when the step line crosses from the left side to the right side of red and falling? We expect a retracement back to the BBC. And again, the pullback holds more often than it doesn't. If the pullback holds, then of course we'll get another leg to the downside. Keep in mind the new weekly zones are in play, and on tomorrow's broadcast, you'll see this week's new zones on my charts. But I have to leave the old zones on for the purpose of this recap, because all these alerts, the logic and the concierge, were based off last week's zones. The zones issued last Monday morning at 6:15 a.m. Eastern. And right here you see the carryover power. Okay. Now, this was support times 2. You got a weekly zone and a previous bullish cross. Now that we pushed back up above that zone, look where we found support at the zone, 900/905. The Russell had a slightly gap higher open last night. Got a leg and a retracement, and the pullback held. Then we got a leg and a retracement, and the pullback held. And then we got a leg that took us all the way up to the long target, 25.10. And we stayed there for 1, 2, 3 hours. Or no, I'm sorry, hour and a half. These are 30-minute candles. This was the 9:30 open on Wall Street. We attempted to run higher. And you see this high right here. Okay, look at the horizontal line on my cursor. See this high on Friday? Okay, that's market structure. The fact that we failed to close above that, that's a sign of weakness. So we go back to the BBC and the pullback hill. You go, well, yeah, but it traded through it. Yeah, it did, but it's still touching it. Okay. And what did the next candle do? Go off like a rocket. Now, we did get a double bottom here off this earlier low and this low. So you should note that that is an important price, important area. Okay, 2493/94. Interestingly enough, there's a weekly trading zone this week at 2495/96. And the zones were issued before this happened. They came out at 6:15 a.m. Eastern. This low was put in at 3:30. So, off the zone, try to get to the zone overhead, but we haven't made it yet. Step line crossed, blue and climbing. We haven't got our pullback to the BBC yet. That should be on deck next. Now this pullback held, and this pullback held, and this pullback held. Pullback holds more often than not, but eventually it will trade through. So you just got to be patient. In the event it trades through this time, just grab yourself a little window of opportunity like that. 2502 down to 2500. That's all you need to get your goal for the day. If the pullback does hold, well, then you got lots of room up here. Simple market structure. On the NQ, slightly higher gap open last night. Now, when you have this much blue and climbing chasing price, it's a good chance that price is going to trade through the BBC, just like it did. Then we had a pullback which held, and a pullback which held, and then we hit the long target. Now, just this one candle right here opened at 25.106 half. Well, let's just, for the simplicity of math, let's call it 110. So it ran up 20 points at $20 a point. So that candle right there, that's worth $400 per contract traded. Okay? All right. Then we almost got to last week's highest weekly trading zone, 247/248. Then we got a retracement. See how the top of the long target held a support? Plus you got the BBC, the pullback to the BBC held again. Now a leg and a retracement. Now the fact that this high failed to take out this high, And the fact that this high failed to take out this high, that's a sign of weakness. But we are above the BBC, and we do have blue and climbing back in the picture. So looks like price at least wants to go up and challenge this area, and possibly even this area. Okay. Crude finally moving higher after, well, it's just been pretty rough for crude. I mean, I think this was the most recent high we could find, 66.42. We looked at that on Friday. So we get a gap higher open last night. We opened at 61.14. And then the target, that's your goal for the day right there, plus a tick. Then we spike higher. Eventually the step line crosses. See how on the way up you got the step line on the left? Once that step line crosses to the right side, step line on the left side, step line on the right side. Okay? When that happens, what do we expect? A pull back to the BBC. And then we get a bounce in the red and falling. It sends us back to the BBC support. So we get another leg. Okay? Now this high right here didn't take out that area right there. Sign of weakness. Sent us back to the top of the long target where the market found support, found support, found support, found support, found support. It's kind of a thing. Happens over and over. Gold. Here's where we opened last night. This candle right here. Open at 39.18 half. Let's just call it 39.19. That's 21 points at $100 a point. That's a $2,100 per contract candle. 2,100 bucks. When the price of gold moves $1, that's worth $100 per contract traded. Getting pretty close to $4,000. High of the session, 39.94 half. But as you can see, the pullback held. And now here we are. We're above the BBC. We still have blue, and price right now is trapped. With the step line directly above price, that's potential resistance. And blue and climbing directly below price, that's potential support. So you got to wait for price to break one way or the other. Okay. If it breaks to the upside, well, there you go. If it breaks to the downside, well, there you go. On the upside, we're talking 39.82. That's a $300 per contract window of opportunity. And if you sell 39.55 to 39.51, that's a $400 window of opportunity. Silver, here's where we opened last night, well above the BBC, above this zone. So we make a run, but we don't take out Friday's high, which was 48.32. Resistance sends the market always looking for support. Pull back to the BBC held. So we get another leg and a retracement, another leg and a retracement. We come all the way back to the zone at $48/4801. And now we're just consolidating. Remember, we punched through the long target. We're just consolidating on top. Okay, Michael's here, so Let me pass this off to him, and he will give us a recap of what happened this morning in the live training room. Okay, that should do the trick.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yep,
Can you hear me now?
sure can.
Excellent. Okay, well then I'll make me the presenter. Bring it over here. All right.
There you go.
Have to fix it.
Looks good.
All right, good. Good. Well then, let me. Here we go. Ready to go. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Monday. Today is the 6th day of October, 2025. If you have not taken a free trial with us, go here to mytradingiq.com, click on the purple button. There is no credit card required for the trial. Just click on that purple button and it'll bring you to this registration page. Yes, this registration page. Just fill out the form, and down at the bottom, gives you TradingView login ID. Okay, once it gives you TradingView login ID, then we will know that you took the trial, and we'll be able to get your indicators indicating on your desktop for you. Make sure you give us that TradingView login ID right there, though. Okay, if you don't have one, click on this link right here to go get one. You can get TradingView for free for 30 days. I recommend, if you're just starting out, get the essential version. Once you're done the 30 days, I think it's probably up like $15 a month now or something like that. You are going to have to get real-time data if you want to keep up with us. If you get delayed data, then you won't be keeping up with us, but you'll still get the indicators indicating, and you'll have charts that'll just be delayed. Okay, so results. We were back and forth quite a bit today in multiple markets, it seemed like. So this is how we ended up. If you're going to read the spreadsheet, you got to read all the CFTC risk disclosures down at the bottom. Today we ended up with 29 ticks on the NQ, and that was not the high of the day on the NQ. The high of the day on the NQ was actually just 46 ticks. We ended up with 41 ticks on the, that was the high of the day. We ended up with 13 ticks on gold, and that was also the high of the day. We're at 13, and then we stopped out, and then we got back to 13 on the gold. And on the ES, we ended with 17, and that was the high of the day on the ES. So I guess we did end at the high of the day on everything but the NQ. But I missed a whole bunch of trades this morning. Anyway, we finished with $692.50 with one contract. Today took 5 minutes and 2 trades to get to $1,000 with 10 contracts on, or 100 with one contract. And we took a total of 39 trades this morning. So still a fair number of trades. And if I would have been more on top of things, we probably would have had more than all those, probably, on the NQ alone, probably. So on the month now, we're at $4,612 over 4 business days, averaging $1,153 per contract per 2-hour business day. On the year, we're at $206,530 over 172 business days, averaging $1,200 per contract per 2-hour business day. Following the 24/20 blueprint, which means you quit trading when you get the goal for the day, and you add 1 contract per month as long as you earn $2,000 per contract in profit during that month. You would now be on your 10th contract because you're in the 10th month. You would have made, if you did it just like I did, you would have made $145,997 quitting when you got the goal for the day. So working those 23.75 hours spread out over the year, you'd be averaging $6,147 per hour. Now, that's not to say that you're going to sit down and make, $6,147 every hour. But what it is all these trades, 532 trades broken up over 23.75 hours, broken up over, I don't know how many days this is, probably average, probably about 185 days, something like that, probably right now, roughly. So that much time. I don't know. Let's see, it's 172 days. 172 days. It's right there. It's not 185, it's 172. So the average, let me do this. 1425 divided by 172. averaging 8.28 minutes per day getting the goal. Okay, now there was not a day this year where we didn't get the goal, but there were a couple of days where we gave it back. And we went 158 business days or trading days this year, all green. And then since then, we've had 2 blue days. So as of today, we are now 14 consecutive days getting our goal and staying green. We haven't had a red day since 2023, I think, which means we didn't get the goal. Anyway, that's where we stand in all that stuff. Now, let's get into the trades. The gold, let's start out here with the gold. You know, this background color, I don't know which one of you guys told me to do it or suggested that I do it, but the background color with the YBR is really helpful, I think, with the trading. And, you know, if you don't have the TV Trades range trigger, in here, let's just shut this off for a minute. Okay, shut that off for a minute. In here, inside the TIQ context, you can go to style and put the BBC on and the BB3 on. And take trades that bounce off the BBC when it's above the BB3. Okay. You're in the green, take trades that bounce off the BBC when it's above the BB3. You're in the red, take trades that bounce off the BBC when it's below the BB3. Okay, it can be just as simple as that. Right? If you're a partner and you don't have the trigger stuff going, just want to point that out. You know, we have a tendency to complicate things, and I am as guilty of that as anyone else. That's all right. So back to the trades for today. All right, the first trade right here on the gold, right here, we picked up 5 ticks. That was our very first trade of the day. We picked up 5 ticks on that one, and we picked up 8 on the next one to get us to 13. Had a break even there, then a break even there, and then we stopped out on that one, put us down to -2. And then we picked up 15 on this guy, and that got us back to 13. And that is where we ended up with the gold. Now, as far as ending it for the day, well, what happened during the break? Let's go take a look at that. Nothing there, nothing there, nothing there, nothing there. This one right here, that would have been a trade right there during the break, I guess. Not a lot of trades during the break here. So, yeah, that would have been one right there. That would have eventually worked out. It would have been really close to stopping out, but it eventually would have worked out. Oh, this is surprising. There were really not that many trades here during the break. Anyway, that was gold. So now we'll look at the YM. And YM, did we stop out on YM today? We did not stop out on YM, surprisingly. Surprising, I say, because the markets were just kind of whippy today. All right, so our first trade on the YM was right here. And we picked up 10 ticks on that. Then the next trade was right here. We picked up 20 on that to go to 30. Then we had a break even, and then we picked up a 1 to go to 31, and then 10 to go to 41. Then, let's see, valid trades, none, all through there. That might have been one right there. Oh, it was one right there. Hey, we're not even in the break. I took a break even on that. I was looking for valid trades. And we took the only 2 that were there. Now, during the break, I didn't realize I was not during the break period there. Yeah, there was a short here that would have been okay. That was right borderline there. If you did take that, you would have stopped out. Same thing with that. You wouldn't have stopped out, you'd made profit, but it was the same borderline type trade. Just not a ton of trades. Now, I just want to look at something here. If we throw this on, let's put this guy on here. Get this for right now. And just look in here. How many trades would have actually worked out the same, or even maybe giving you a little more opportunity? This one right here. That one. Well, without looking at the trigger. If we put the trigger on, let's not put that trigger, put this trigger. So you're just looking at coming out of the overbought. There's one. There's one. There's one. Kind of, there's one. There's one. That one wouldn't have worked out. And there's one. There's one. That's one. That's one. That's one. So there would have been a lot more opportunities if we were just doing it, basically using the trigger, the background color, and the BBC. A lot more opportunities. Now, sometimes that's good, and sometimes it's not. But I was just curious. Just throw that guy back on there. Shut that one back off. All right, I just want to point that out to those of you guys who are in here right now. All right, so that was the YM. Now on the ES today, is this the whole day on the ES? This is the whole day on the ES right here. All right, so we started off with 4 ticks, and then we got 11 ticks, got us up to 15, and then we stopped out, brought us down to 5. We got 1 tick to 6, then 2 ticks to 8, 4 ticks to 12, then a break even, and then from 12 to 13, and somewhere went from 13 to 17. There was one more ES trade somewhere. So there was probably 1 tick somewhere that we got, but we ended up with 17 ticks on the ES. And now during the break, which is from here to here, there was nothing in there. That was not a trade. That was a trade, and it just barely stayed in the trade. Got you up to there, and that was it. I guess actually that was a trade right there too, right there. Now 89 up to 90, it would have gotten just stopped to break even, and that was the yes. So the markets haven't been, I don't know, they were kind of hard today. It seemed like. I don't know. Overall, where are we? Overall, the markets are up on the ES on the daily. We're up pretty close to the high right now. We didn't put in a new high, all-time high. Oops. Do that. Put that over here. Okay. Well, we're pretty good. Now on the NQ. All right. On the NQ, right here. This was the first trade here on the NQ. And we picked up 8 ticks on that one. And then I messed this one up and stopped out. And we're at minus 17 after that. Then I picked up 20 ticks there to get me to plus 3. Then over here, 16 ticks to get me to 19. Then 4 ticks to get me to 23. And then I stopped out down to minus 2. Stopped out again to minus 27. And then I went from minus 27 to minus 23. So that was 4 ticks and a break even. Then I went from minus 23 to minus 19. So it was another 4 ticks. And then I got 20 ticks here to get me to plus 1. And then 45 ticks here to get me to 46. Then I stopped out again down to 21. And I got 5 ticks here to get me to 26. A break even, and then 3 ticks to get me to 29. And that's where we ended it on the NQ. It was not easy trading on the NQ today. Some days it's just really easy on the NQ. Today, not one of those days. We have right here, we have a long trade right there during the break. There's one long trade there that was valid. A long trade right here that was valid. And a short trade over here that was good. And that was it. We have another short trade setting up right now. All right. That was it. That was a lot of stuff. All right, look for the down close there on the NQ right now. There it is. That's a short there on the NQ with that down close. Here it is. 10 ticks in profit. And the stop goes to break even. There's 10. Now I'm going to lock in some profit and at 90.25. So I'll lock in 8 ticks right there. Okay, and we're out with 8 ticks in profit. Bam. Just like that. Now, 8 ticks in profit with one contract is $40. With 10 contracts is $400. And that's what just happened right there. So for anybody that's just coming on right now that might be coming on YouTube, if you haven't taken a free trial with us, go here to mytradingiq.com, click on the purple button. There's no credit card required. Just click on the purple button. It's going to bring you to the registration page. Just fill out the registration page. Once you do that, you will get everything you need to get in the room with us in the morning. Okay. So here we are. Now I got 8 ticks on that first one right there. This needs to get into the overbought to give us another one. It's not there yet. If it does get into the overbought now, it's going to be too far away. The ES could possibly actually, no, it's not going to be a long trade because that didn't go full cycle. So you're not going to have a trade here on the ES. And we're in the green on these other ones right here. But on this one, we're below the midpoint. So that's going to be kind of odd if it does give us a trade on the YM. We have, this is what I meant about the up close is too far away over here. So it'll take 2 bars now to get into the oversold and to get down to the midpoint. Okay, on the YM, we need a down close. Probably gonna need 2 down closes to get a trade on the YM. Okay. All right, on the gold, we are here at the midpoint and we need a down close off of that midpoint. Damn trade. All right, we just need the down close there on the gold and be a short. I'm sorry, take that back. Cancel. We have a green background. It's set up in the short spot. It's set up to give you a short and to go down. It's a green, so forget all that. That's why I said a minute ago it's going to be weird if we got a trade here on the gold because we have a green background and we're below the midpoint. Okay, so we have a chance on the YM. We need a down close on the YM to hit the midpoint and then bounce us up. All right. So on the YM now, we just need the up close. It's got a low here of 02. It's be buying 12 on that. Buying 12 on that. I clicked in the wrong place. Sorry, wait. Nothing on the NQ and nothing on the ES. Up close there. There it is on the YM. There it is on the YM. Okay, we need 5 ticks in profit to bump the stop. So it's got to get up to 16 right now. The yellow needs to get up to 16 right now. Come on, get up there. It's almost there. See what I mean about the gold? There it is. See what I mean about the gold? Be positioned to go down, not up. I'm going to lock in the 5 on YM right now. Okay. $10 on the YM. $20 on the YM. And probably 20 on the YM. Okay, so that took a little time. Put it. All right. All right. Does anybody have any questions about anything at this point? Anybody? We have something coming up here on the short side on the gold. We're almost there. It needs to get into the overbought. It's gone full cycle. It needs to get into the overbought and then give us a down close. All right. Let's get a high here of 80.2. So on the gold right now, we're looking for a down close on the gold. Okay. Still looking for that down close on the gold. Now it's gonna high. It can't go above 80.7. It already did. We're not looking for down close here anymore. Gold is going to be too high on the down close. It's not going to be a trade. All right. So the NQ is on a little bit of a tear. On the daily, all-time highs are right here, I believe. Yeah, those are all-time highs made on Friday. Yeah. We're not that far from it right now. 68, is that really 6,800 exactly? 6,800 exactly. Well, it's something. All right, on the gold, we don't have anything here now. We need a pullback. Everything else is in the green, so we're just waiting for pullbacks everywhere. We only have about 3.5 minutes left. But so far, we've had a couple of trades. We've had a plus 20 there and a plus 8 over here. All right, so we have nothing there, nothing there, nothing there yet. They're all kind of close to a trade. This one is, it's going to reset the midpoint, so you're not going to get anything directly on the NQ, but you could get something over here on the gold. Okay. All right, on the gold, we have nothing there. On the YM, we have nothing there. On the ES, nothing here yet. This reset the midpoint, this reset the midpoint, and the ES has yet to get down out of the overbought. Okay, the gold just reset the midpoint also. Now we could have a trade here on the YM. Nothing on the gold, but the YM could give a trade. Actually, I'm sorry, the YM cannot. Sorry to come out of the oversold. YM is not going to give a trade. Neither is the NQ, and it doesn't look like the ES is going to get us either. See, the NQ's got to get into the overbought, then come back out of it. Get all the way into the oversold and come back out of that before I have a trade. The ES was the closest to a trade here, but it's just not moving right now. No trade here on the YM.
Butler vacuuming.
What?
I said, was that the Butler vacuuming?
Oh, no, it's somebody across the street having their lawn, blown. No, Butler, I wish. We don't even have our healthcare worker right now.
Yeah.
I hope she's going to show up pretty soon. I know she had a doctor's appointment, but I thought she was supposed to be here by 12:30, but she's still not here. But, nope, that was it. All right, well, we didn't end up with any extra trades here, guys. We had the 120 tick trade there on the YM and 1.8 tick trade over here on the ES. And that's how I guess we're going to end it today. So if you have not taken a free trial, go here to mytradingiq.com, click on the purple button. There's no credit card required. Do that, and it's going to bring you to the registration page. Just fill it out. Give us a TradingView login ID down at the bottom, and get your indicators indicating for you on your desktop as soon as we can. And I will do that for that fellow that is on the trial. Now that I found the emails and I found his information, I'll get that done for him.
Okay.
All right. And with that, I can pass it back out to you. Fabulous Phoenix, Arizona, and Studio A overlooking South Mountain, America's largest city park. Dwayne is ready.
Yep. Recap of the morning session.
Today, it took 5 minutes and 2 trades to get to $1,000 with 10 contracts on.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Right, guys, we covered already every one of the markets in granular fashion. If you missed any part of today's broadcast, go to youtube.com/CFRN. And you can watch today's broadcast in its entirety. There's over 2,900 daily episodes on our YouTube channel. Again, youtube.com/CFRN. It's the Christian Financial Radio Network since 2005. So you don't have to remember all that, just youtube.com/CFRN. Friday's high again was 6,800. Big round number. Today's high so far, we're 4 points off of it. 67.96. Our 100% fib extension is at 68.07. The highest weekly trading zone last week, which we did not hit, 68.10/11, which would be above this. This week, obviously, it's a little bit higher. And again, on tomorrow's broadcast, I will have all of this week's weekly trading zones. The new zones come out at 6:15 a.m. Eastern. So all the alerts that go out Sunday night, all the weekly trading zones, all the Logic 247 alerts, all of that, they're based on the last week's zones. Okay. But once the new zones come out Monday morning at 6:15 a.m. Eastern, which that time has come and gone, now any alert that goes out for the remainder of the week, be it a Logic 247 or a concierge trade alert, they'll be based on this week's zones. We get them out early on Monday so that our traders have an opportunity to get them on their charts before Wall Street even wakes up for the week. To become a member, send Valerie an email, support@cfrn.net. Just let her know you want to become a member. She'll send you the information you need to get signed up. Once you're all signed up, she'll then send you more information. Now that's stuff you want to hang on to. A lot of it you won't even understand what it is when you initially get it. So just create a folder in your email client, and every email she sends you, just stick it in that folder. Stick it in that folder. As your learning journey begins, you'll need everything she sends you. That's why she sends it to you. And if it's the middle of the night or middle of a weekend or a holiday and you're trying to do some work and you need something, you know where it is, because she sends you everything that you need. So many times I hear, I never got that, which is usually followed up later on with, oh yeah, I found that. So why not just put it all in the same place at the same time, and you'll always know where it is. Once you become a member, you'll get 2 hours of live training every trading day. It's an interactive environment. Private one-on-one mentoring. All you got to do is ask. The strategy you learn, the indicators you own as a passport holder are fluid across all markets and all time frames. Stocks, futures, crypto, Forex, ETF, it doesn't matter. Price flows the same across all markets and all time frames. From support to resistance, back to support, back to resistance, over and over, again and again. It's a never-ending cycle. As I showed you today, as I show you every day, when I walk through each of the markets in granular fashion, price goes from support, resistance, back to support. Now, the reason it's so important to learn how to read the chart is so that you know where to anticipate resistance and where to anticipate support. Over the last 7+ years, in the Logic 247 channel, we have issued over 20,600 individual handcrafted alerts. And what we've averaged on a weekly basis is 20% or less of the alerts being stopped out based on simple market structure and a simple process we teach all of our passport holders. So that's why the Logic 247 alerts are so important, because they help you learn how to read the chart. Even if you never trade one of the Logic alerts, just simply use them to learn how to read the chart, and then you won't need the alerts. Because the Logic alerts show you exactly where to expect resistance, where to expect support. And by simply drawing horizontal lines, you can figure it. All of a sudden, it's just what once looked like chaos. It's like, oh my goodness, I can literally blueprint what the market's doing. Now, that doesn't mean you know what's going to happen next in the market. Nobody does. Nobody has crystal balls big enough. Not man, not machine, not algorithm, not AI, not nothing, not no way, not no how. There are too many factors. Just the sheer number of market participants. Any one of them changing their mind at the last second and adding an order or removing an order from the order flow. It's like that butterfly effect. You know, when the butterfly in the Amazon flutters his wings and you get a snowstorm in Syracuse. Yeah, kind of like that. But maybe a better way of understanding it is, if you enjoy reading, when you're reading, say, a good mystery novel or maybe a spy thriller, whatever you like, as you get to the bottom of the page, there's almost always a little cliffhanger. And you can't wait to turn the page. That's why they call them page turners. But before you turn the page, in your mind's eye, you already see what's going to be on that next page. The more you read a particular author or follow a particular genre, the more accurate you're going to get at knowing what you're going to see when you turn the page. Same with the charts, except there's no words, no sentences, no paragraphs, no punctuation. The Logic 247 alerts will teach you how to read the chart. It's not going to help you. You won't be able to predict the future. But remember, out of the 20,600 individual alerts we've issued over the last 7+ years, we've averaged on a weekly basis 20% or less being stopped out, just based on simple market structure. Nothing fancy, just knowing how to read the chart. And the indicators, the humble indicators that we provide, which you own as a passport holder. So you get everything I mentioned, plus the Logic 247 alerts, plus the concierge trade alerts. They're typically published as a static report 5 minutes before the Globex open each evening. Today at 5 p.m. Eastern, the Monday session will end. At 6 p.m. Eastern, the Tuesday session will begin. And God willing, at 5:55 p.m. Eastern, 5 minutes before the markets open tonight, the CTAs will be published in the appropriate places, along with the logic alerts, the concierge trade alerts. Every Monday morning, you'll get the weekly trading zones. Once they're published, they're carved in stone for the entire week. We've published the zones on a weekly basis for our members since December 14th of 2009. That's a long time. Yeah? Think about that. Since December 14th of 2009. Now, the logic alerts, a little over 7 years. The weekly trading zones go all the way back to December 14th of 2009. And you know what's changed about them in all that time? Absolutely nothing. Every Thursday night, you'll be able to attend the members-only workshop. And last but not least, you'll get the golden keys that open all the private channels in Telegram. We have public channels for the folks on trial, and we have private channels. Once you become a member, you'll have access to everything. And it all starts when you email Valerie, support@cfrn.net, and just say, Valerie, I'm ready to become a member. She'll send you the information you need to get signed up. So let's wrap it up with our good word for the day. A life-enriching habit. Psalm 55:17. Evening, morning, and at noon will I pray. An ancient European monastery, perched on a high ledge, was accessible only by way of a basket that was held in place by a single rope on a series of pulleys. One day, a concerned visitor noticed the rope was frayed in numerous places. Hoping to relieve his anxiety, he asked the monk, who was sharing the ride with him, "How often do you guys change the rope?" Stoically, the monk replied, "Whenever it breaks." Seriously, waiting for the worst to happen before taking action is a risky life strategy. Just as common sense dictates that machinery, health, and relationships require continual attention and maintenance, the same strategy applies to your spiritual life. Because we become what we consistently practice in our walk with God. Routine and repetition can be spiritual lifesavers. Spiritual excellence isn't an act, it's a habit. Consider prayer and meditation. Rather than exceptions, they're intended to be habits you practice daily. Don't wait for the rope to snap before incorporating them into your life. Prayer must first be a spiritual discipline. God's Word designates it as a life habit, not merely an act. Paul instructs us to pray in the Spirit at all times and on every occasion. Be persistent in your prayers. Ephesians 6:18. And again in 1 Thessalonians 5:17, he says, never stop praying. The psalmist David understood this principle. He said, evening, morning, and at noon will I pray and cry aloud. Psalm 55:17. And even Daniel, the little boy in the lion's den, he practiced it too. He prayed 3 times a day, just as he had always done. Daniel 6:10. It was a routine that proved powerful and effective for both men. And it's one that will work for you as well. And that's our good word for today. Thanks so much for tuning in. Whoever you are, wherever you are, may God continue to richly bless you with His mercy and with His grace. And I'll see you at the bell.
Remember this, there is no greater return on investment than to see a human life changed and given hope. As always, pray hard and trade safe. Any financial information discussed on this show is simply the opinion of our host, Dwayne Reeves, his co-hosts, and guests. To learn more about trading E-mini futures or to take a 1-week free trial in our live trading room, call 1-866-928-3310. 866-928-3310. Information discussed on this radio program should not be construed as a recommendation to buy or sell any security. Always do your own due diligence and consult with a licensed securities broker or financial planner before making any investment decision.